So what most hard-working people do is they focus on their income, working hard at their job, income comes in, and the first line of expense for most people is a thing called taxes. But what the rich do is by having their income come from the asset column, the income comes up this way, and the way the rich avoid taxes is just like a fuel filter on a gas line. What the rich do is they attach a corporation or several corporations. And what a corporation then does is bleed off as many expenses as possible before their income is taxed. And that's how the rich avoid taxes, where a person who is an employee or a W-2er is taxed first. So what the rich do through a corporation is that they take off some of their expenses. What they do is they earn, they spend as much as they can, and they're taxed on what's left. And what the poor and middle class do is they work hard, they earn all their money, but the government taxes them, then they try and spend or live on what's left. And that's one of the big differences between the poor, the rich, and the middle class.
Wayne and I own one of the largest real estate schools in the state, and one thing we find about people and students who are entering the real estate business is that we give them the basics of real estate, but they don't know the basics of investing.
Yeah, that's why we're so excited about having the game Cash Flow, because now we can teach the students more about the fundamentals of accounting, investments, and finance, so they'll have the tools that they need to go out and actually do that in the real world.
So one of the secrets of the rich is how they print money. One example is, let's say they buy a house in foreclosure through their attorney's office. They pay $30,000 for it. They mark it up to market value, which is, let's say, $60,000. So they sell it for $60,000, and what they have is in $30,000, which they take back in the form of a note or an IOU. So they've created now $30,000 in their asset column from this one transaction. Or another way of doing it is you take a piece of land, about 80 acres. I paid $100,000 for this whole chunk of land. There was a house on the property, so I chopped off 4 acres and sold the house for $145,000. So I made $45,000 from just selling the house and 4 acres. I then divided up the land into 3 parcels, selling each parcel for $100,000 each, again taking it back in a note or a form of an IOU. So over here I had now invented $300,000 in my asset column. Or another example I do is called an IPO, initial public offering. I put $10,000 seed money into a company I'm forming. For 1 penny a share, $10,000 comes out to 1 million shares. The moment the company goes public, let's say goes up to $1, so 10,000 shares then goes to $1 million, which I don't have to pay taxes on until such time as I cash the money. So these are some examples of how the rich print money. And why the poor and the middle class have such a hard time is what they do is they go and work hard at their job. The money comes in here, and if they try and save something, it goes through a thing called their taxes. And it goes through taxes before it can come into this asset column called savings. So this is an example of why the poor and middle class have such a hard time saving any money. It's because the government takes a part of it before it gets into their asset column.
We had the opportunity to play the game as a family, and it was really nice to have us all around the table having fun. It was also particularly interesting to see how the game reflected real life. I'm an attorney, once upon a time an engineer, but I was never really taught the basic financial principles that are illustrated by the game.
I'm the accountant in the family. That's why he's never really had to learn the basic fundamentals of the game. And so my background, I'm a CPA, my background is accounting, so I understand the fundamentals as presented in the game. And what was particularly fun for me was I was able to help both Mike and my daughter Shelley understand the concepts that gave them problems. So it was fun because we were able to learn together.
I'm a college student. In school you really don't learn much about money and financing, and I was surprised how much I really enjoyed this game. I learned a lot about investing money and financing, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
So a couple of years ago I wrote a book called If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. It was an international bestseller. And many people think I'm anti-education. Nothing could be further from the truth. As I said, my profession is education. I'm a teacher. I love learning. And so I think scholastic aptitude, which you go to school for, is important, as well as professional aptitude, ability to be an attorney, a lawyer, a doctor, or a secretary. Very important skills. But also, in this world of great change, financial intelligence is excruciatingly important right now. But this is the reason I created the game Cash Flow. But please remember, it's just the fundamentals, the beginning, the foundation. There's a lot more to learn. But always remember this also. No matter which way the economy goes, ultimately, whether you're poor, rich, or middle class, the choice is up to you. One of the foundations of learning is repetition. So please remember this. The more you play this game, the richer you will become.